Good afternoon. It is. I've already shanked it. This is what Dan Mandis does to me, right?
That's the way it goes, Sister Pamela Furr.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Because he's like, I shanked that show. Because he does that, right?
He does.
So then I come in, good afternoon. Good Lord.
Good afternoon.
All right, take two.
Here we go.
Good morning. It is 7 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm Pamela Furr. Glad to be with you today.
I was getting ready to say, I got to get home.
You're
Yeah,
working
what are you doing here, Ken?
overtime. Oh, my goodness.
I'll
I
see
just
y'all
kind of
later.
wished all of the morning away, and I didn't mean to do that. It's the kind of morning where most normal people would be either at work or in bed, cozying up, with a warm blanket because it's so dreary out there. But no, you've got thousands of people now who are down at the state capitol, and not only our own local media all over it, but I'm seeing national media too.
Wow.
CNN right now is down there in the streets, in the rain, and they've got cameras inside the Capitol, and you have state troopers everywhere. Now, I don't know. Do you have my little Nosy Girl theme song handy? I'll tell you that in fact, let's just, yeah. Here we go. All right, rumor has it we've got 200 plus state troopers that are there at the state capitol to keep things orderly, to keep the outsiders from stirring things up. Because, see, here's what's happened, and I know the other hosts have talked about this. You and I also know this. You have people busing in from Knoxville and Memphis. That's all right. They're Tennesseans. If you want to protest at our state capitol, you have a right to do so in Memphis and in Knoxville and from Chattanooga and all. You have every right to be there. We have out-of-staters who have been coming in, who have been bussed in to protest at the state capitol. Now, do they have a right? Well, sure, because it's a free country. But in my opinion, lawmakers shouldn't allow those loud voices to influence how they vote today on whether to expel 3 lawmakers who, were up to no good. Shenanigans. And I have to tell you this, too. I'm going down some rabbit holes and off onto rabbit trails and the whole 9 yards. But there's so much to this. But I remember specifically being on this here radio station filling in for somebody, and right after the election, and I said, oh, no, seriously, Justin Jones just got elected to the state house? How did this happen? And somebody will have to look this up. I don't know if he ran unopposed. And so that one got, for me at least, was under the radar for me because so many people were focused on the 5th congressional district, the U.S. congressional district, that we weren't paying attention to these other offices probably like we should have. Justin Jones, who, by the way, has blocked me on all social media, so I can't see what he's saying. At least I can't see directly.
Wow.
He
said no more Pamela Furr.
And I asked him a question about something. I can't remember what it was. And boom, I got blocked. Fine. Other people will tell me what he's saying. It doesn't matter. but I knew from day one the only reason why he ran for election is so he could disrupt the process. That is his only goal. That's been his goal since he has been in the so-called spotlight here in Tennessee. He has disrupted proceedings years past, so why would this be any different? He had disrupted proceedings on the State House floor. He has disrupted proceedings on the Senate floor. Remember, he was charged. Now, I think they dismissed the charges, but he was charged at one point for throwing, was it hot tea or hot coffee on a lawmaker entering an elevator going up to wherever they were going, their office or whatever it was. He was arrested during our riots that after the George Floyd death, if you recall, and we had our little riots and protests, and he was arrested for jumping up what I want to say it was a Metro Police car. Somebody might have to check me on that, but he did jump up on the top, and of course the top dented. That's vandalism in my book, and he had his famous bullhorn. He has
14 charges.
I mean, hello.
Good trouble.
Good trouble, he says. Good trouble.
And he did run unopposed.
That's what I thought. So, I mean, that kind of was under the radar. Thank you, Mac, for looking that up and fact checking me. And so he was under the radar the whole time. And for me too. And when I saw that on election day, I'm going, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. And sure enough, here we are. Now, the Tennessee House looks like they are in session now. And if I'm not mistaken, when House Speaker Cameron Sexton was on the air with Dan Mandis earlier this morning, he said they're going to do business as usual. So they have several bills that are before them that they're going to discuss and vote on before they get to the vote to expel these 3 House lawmakers. So if that is the case, I'm guessing, now I know Matt Murphy is paying attention, and Matt may call in the show because he's watching things that I can't watch now that I'm on the air. We have a couple of other people that are positioned throughout the Capitol that may call in and give us kind of a rundown of what's happening. Matt is hearing maybe around noon or so would be the vote. I was hearing around 11. Regardless, it's going to be a minute before that vote will take place. We'll keep you posted. In the meantime, again, you have protesters outside the state capitol in the rain with their umbrellas. They're not going to let you in without the umbrellas. I found it interesting also this morning, Cameron Sexton told Dan Mandis that at the last protest where all this disturbance happened earlier in the week, wasn't that Monday? I think it was Monday. So when that happened, as they were letting people into the building, they go through security, right? 18 and over, by the way, go through security. If you're younger than 18, I'm told you don't have to go through security. That may have changed since Monday. But you had mostly out-of-towners. Cameron Sexton said 2/3 of those who came into the Capitol building were not just out-of-towners, they were out-of-state people. So that's mostly those who were causing the ruckus. And they confiscated knives, and they confiscated beer spray, right? Not beer, bear. bear spray, right? So that's a problem. That's a problem. You had people here intent on doing some damage. You had people here intent on causing issues and paid to do it. Professionals why else would you come from out of state to protest here? What does it have to do with you if you live in, Kentucky? What does it have to do with you if you live in North Carolina or Alabama or Louisiana or, let's go to a northern New York or Michigan or name any state? When we're talking about, and by the way, we've lost focus. We were talking about how to make schools safer, what to do in the state of Tennessee to prevent what happened to those 3 innocent children and 3 innocent adults at Covenant School. We've now lost focus of that when that really was supposed to be the focus. Now our focus are on these 3 legislators. Now our focus is on who can be the loudest and who will get punished for it, or who can disrupt and break the rules and get away with it and who will be punished for it. And these 3 did that. They took the focus off the real issues, which they say they're all about. They then became the news story. Well, first rule of news, don't become the story, right? They tell young journalists that when they go through their training. First rule of being a news journalist is don't be the story. You tell the story. You report the story. Same, I would say, with these lawmakers. First rule of lawmaking is represent those in your district. Don't become the story. And that's what they've done. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. We're going to continue this conversation. I've got some interesting comments from Justin Pearson, who's from Memphis, who I contend, I don't know him very well, but I contend he was just like Justin Jones, and his whole reasoning for running for that office, and he won in a special election, by the way, when, I believe it was when a lawmaker passed away. Mac, if you want to double check on that, you're more than welcome to do that. I think that's what it was. But at any rate, he won a special election, and I think his only intent to win was to cause, quote, good trouble, not to represent his people in Memphis. If there's anybody in this state that deserves a seat at the table to talk about violence, it's someone from Memphis. Look at what's happening to that city, for crying out loud. And he blew his chance to be someone who could help do something in Memphis. His fault by becoming the news story. It is 9:19. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for letting me be with you this morning. Not this afternoon, but this morning.
Good evening, Pamela.
Good evening, Mac. We will take this quick time out, and when we come back, more on this. Plus, I want to talk about how some people are trying to compare this to the great tax revolt in Tennessee. And I can show you, not even close to comparison. It's all on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
One of our sources says that Representative William Lamberth was punched by one of the protesters heading into the state capitol this morning. You've got thousands of protesters there this morning here in Nashville. We'll tell you everything that's going on there. Also about the urgent search for an armed and dangerous murder suspect just about 90 miles from Nashville. These stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
My goodness. All right. Thank you very much, Ken Weaver. It is 9:24. Yeah, I had heard the same thing. Reports are that William Lamberth was punched as he was walking into the House chambers this morning. And if that is the case, guys, I hope they arrest that a-hole, whoever did it, throw the book at him. And I would, if I were the betting kind, I would say that whoever did it isn't from around here. And if they are, oh my gosh, I mean, they should obviously throw the book at him. It's funny to me how ironic. We're talking about violence, right? Violence when they're protesting, supposed to be protesting against violence. How does that make any sense? You don't shove people when you're trying to talk about anti-violence. That tells me that they don't believe what they're saying. They're just there to be loud. I was watching some video of the so-called Tennessee Three walking through the State House hallways in between, the protesters, and they're all applauding. And the three have their arms up, like, yes, power, whatever. With it, you can't see me on the radio, but my hands are up with my fist clenched, And so the three of them walking in, and that's just like they're heroes. Heroes, they've done nothing but disrupt. They've done nothing. They've done nothing to fix the problem that they're supposed to be there for. Now, how does this compare to the Great Tax Revolt? And here's the only reason why I bring this up. And I know a lot of you listening may not have been there during that time. I was. I saw Johnny B down the hall just a second ago. He's going to be in here, by the way, at noon today. He was there. He was actually there on the plaza. I was behind the scenes, and I wasn't working with Johnny B and Phil at the time. I was working with someone else here, but I was working for WTN when all this was going on. And I'm going to tell you a couple of differences here. First of all, it wasn't a one-day protest. We'd been protesting for quite some time. And it was mostly with horn honking. And then when we got word that there was a vote that was about to take place, we showed up in droves. And not just here in Middle Tennessee, but from all over the state. This was before there were professional protesters. And look, let me be clear about this. I believe in the right to protest. In 2023, I don't believe it does much good anymore because of what we see happening down at the state capitol now, where people are bussed in from out of state. Or there could be some that are bussed in from Knoxville and from Memphis and Chattanooga that are paid protesters that are just paid to be there. They don't care about the issue. They're just doing what they're paid to do. You and I both know that happens all the time. You and I have seen ads for protesters to show up at certain areas and we'll pay you $100, that kind of thing. They'll call them actors in ads that you see. So that's why I don't believe protesting today is as effective as it was back during the Great Tax Revolt. That was effective because we had gotten word that a vote was not only about to take place, but a vote was about to take place, and it looked like they had the votes to pass a state income tax in the state of Tennessee. Now, I know that lawmakers then felt very intimidated because they had to walk through the protesters. There were reports back then that a lawmaker did get shoved. And by the way, that's not okay. So if you're planning on showing up at the state capitol today, don't shove people. Don't get in their face. Don't get in their personal space. Be law-abiding citizens who are free to protest. If you're on the conservative side and you want to head down there and be a counter-protester, behave. I'm acting like your mama with my finger pointed. Now. But that's part of the difference. I also, when we come back, want to talk about an article in the Chattanooga Free Times Press, whatever they call themselves, blasting Senator Marsha Blackburn for being a hypocrite, voicing her opinion on this when she was part of the tax revolt at the state level back in the day. They say she's the one that called for people to storm the Capitol, and that's just simply not true. So all of that straight ahead. We're going to find out how William Lamberth is here, told that he was punched. Ken Weaver will probably have more on that in just a moment, so stick around. I am Pamela Furr. I'm so glad to be here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
"9:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. That train of rain parked right over Middle Tennessee, and as a result, we've got that flash flood watch until 1 o'clock. For forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, protesters at the state capitol, thousands of them ahead of the possible expulsion of 3 Democrat state reps who repeatedly ignored rules of decorum on the House floor to rally for stricter gun control in light of the Covenant School shooting. This is Lackland Cook, a 16-year-old student who attends Nashville School of Arts, says lawmakers don't have their priorities straight.
Claim the banning of drag, books, and gender-affirming care is for the safety of children, but I feel more unsafe in school than I do surrounded by drag queens or dangerous literature.
Now, security is beefed up there at the Capitol. We are told by sources that House Majority Leader William Lamberth of Portland was punched walking into the House chamber by one of the protesters this morning. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price, and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 9:37. Good morning. I'm Pamela Furr. Thank you for letting me be with you today on this, I would call it an historic day in Tennessee politics. Because on the chopping block, quite frankly, are three legislators who violated House rules, and now the Speaker of the House wants to expel them. You heard in Ken Weaver's newscast, I'll reiterate this again, we have a very good source inside the House that tells us that Representative William Lamberth, was punched in the torso, a sucker punch, as he was making his way into the House chambers today. He's fine. He's okay. In fact, passing legislation as we speak. But he was punched. I hope that guy was arrested. Haven't heard yet, but I would assume so. That's assault. And removed from the Capitol, whoever did it. I'm assuming it's a dude. I guess I shouldn't assume that these days. Who knows? Got some very angry females out there as well. That's the kind of thing that's happening on the state capitol today. Now, they are talking about different things that are supposed to help make schools safer. I think they're talking about legislation that would require all schools, both public and private, to develop a comprehensive safety plan. Private schools are included through an amendment by William Lamberth on this particular bill that's up. It's House Bill 0322, if you want to look it up. There are debates going on the floor. You do have some lawmakers that have stood up and made some statements about the so-called Tennessee Three. I'm going to adopt that name just because it's easier to say. Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson. If I say the Tennessee Three, you understand who I'm talking about. So I'm going to adopt that. That's what's happening on the House floor. And you do have some members, some protesters that are in the gallery that's above, right, the well of the floor, protesting. I think they've been much more subdued than they were on Monday, but the vote has yet to come to the floor about expelling the Tennessee Three. You do have protesters outside, though, who are being loud because you can hear it inside the House, outside the halls, that is. You can hear it in the House. But that's it, just loud. I don't think, with the exception of this one guy that tried to punch a lawmaker or did punch a lawmaker, I don't think you have any other unruly stuff happening, at least not that I have heard. The thing that we know about, though, these people is that they'll try to bait others to respond with a punch. You know, and I think, Ken Weaver, are you there? Who was the lawmaker that got into a bit of a scuffle with Justin Jones? Lafferty, I think.
Justin Lafferty.
Lafferty. Too many Justins. Holy smokes. All right, so Lafferty. Now, I saw the video. This was Monday, right? And you have Justin Jones, I think, getting way too close to that lawmaker with his cell phone, right? Justin Jones was filming what was happening in the House chambers, going around the room. Then he sees Lafferty on his phone. And so he comes up to Lafferty to see what he is filming in his personal space. And Lafferty, it looks like, pushed him. Like, get out of my face. I can tell you right now, if somebody leans over me with a cell phone to try to tape what I'm doing on my cell phone, he's going to get an elbow to the groin, you know, because I'm short. So sometimes that's
Easy access.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing.
Best angle, just,
elbow.
Most impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You're going to I'm not going to let you in my personal space. And so these people know that sort of thing, and I think that they bait them. I 100% know that they bait them.
We're getting some super text. Sorry, Pamela, about the
No, go
Tennessee
ahead.
3. People are saying, please don't disrespect Johnny Cash's old band. They were the Tennessee 3. So,
Oh, were they?
Yeah, so we're-
I'm not sure I knew that.
so there we go. We learned something
And
new every day.
I probably should have known
We've
that.
got some good. How about the Three Stooges? I prefer Gloria and the Two Justins. I like the Bullhorn Trio. The Tennessee Threeson.
The threeson, or it should be pronounced treason, probably. The Tennessee threeson or treason.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't know that. I apologize. No disrespect to Johnny Cash's old band. If I keep continuing to say, in this context, we'll refer to them as the Tennessee Three. Are you guys going to be? Yeah, you're going to be offended by that. All right, we'll figure out something else. Two Justins and a Johnson, I guess. I guess we'll say, and you can take that to mean whatever you would like for that to mean. All right, it is 9:43. I have to check my text messages here because I'm getting all kinds of messages from down there at the Capitol. It looks like things right now do remain peaceful. There are lots of people down there, but for the most part, loud but peaceful. Can you yes, a loud, peaceful protest. So that's what's happening. That's the information that I have. By the way, we've got John Rich coming on at 11:05 today. Have I even teased that yet? So it's coming up at 11:05. We have what is mind-boggling to me. We have Budweiser. Somebody's got their microphone on because I can hear them breathing. We have three. I think it's three, maybe two companies that have decided to use a transgender as their influencer. I'm torn. I'm not torn. I think I'm censoring my own self because I really want to go off. Can I just be honest? What is her name? Mulvaney. Starts with a D. Mulvaney.
Dylan, I believe.
Dylan Mulvaney. It's a he. It is a he. And Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch or who has decided to put his face as a female on their beer cans. Now, when did they become a Wheaties box? When did beer start putting a person's face on their beer cans? Now, I'm not a beer drinker. I'm just going to be honest. If I'm going to do a beer, I'm going to do an ale that has, an apple kind of taste to it. I just don't like beer. I'm just, give me bourbon any day over beer. And if you're talking a dirty martini, then I'm in all night. Oh, yeah. With blue cheese stuffed olives? Oh, yeah. So good. So I'm not a beer connoisseur. I've tasted every beer I could think of, and it's just all nasty to me. But if you're going to be a beer drinker, do you want a face greeting you when you turn it up and start drinking it? Do you want a face right there? I'm just asking. And then you have to ask, why this one? Is Budweiser, Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, whoever, are they lacking in clientele? Are beer sales down? And then I have to ask you, is this a market? Do transgenders usually enjoy a good Bud Light? I don't know. And I'm sorry to laugh. I'm trying not to be disrespectful, right? Because there is a really teeny, minute portion of our population that is transgender, right? So I'm trying not to be disrespectful. But I need to know why Bud Light and there are 1,000 other women. If you want a female face on your beer, you turn to a man. Yet again, you're turning to men over women. As a female, I have an issue with this. I have a real problem with this. as a female, as a strong female who supports other strong women who I would much rather see on the can of a beer than, now who would it be? Dolly? Would you put Dolly's face on a beer? How about, I don't know. That would just seem odd. I'm trying to think. The face, you know whose face I would have put on there is, her last name's Presley, and she used to be on the show My Name is Earl. That'd be a good face to put on a can of beer. Wonder Woman. I'm trying to think, I don't know. You could put Rosa Parks. She was a strong woman who did amazing things for her generation. What a woman. And you choose a man again to be your influencer, calling it a female. That is offensive to me. And I'll tell you something else, and then we'll move on. Oh, I haven't even mentioned Nike now using him as a spokesperson for sports bras. I've gotten a look at this Dylan Mulvaney. I don't see breasts. What do you need a sports bra for? Now, if you're older, like in the Seinfeld episode where they tried to develop a man's ear, or didn't they call it the bro?
Yeah, it was the bro.
The bro.
Yeah, Frank modeled it for Kramer.
Because, when you're a man of a certain age, sometimes things happen in that area for a man in your chest area where you end up with I call them man boobs. It happens to me. It happens. And so a man's ear may have been, they were before their time, I guess. But wouldn't you have an actual man with man boobs modeling your sports bra? Why pick he is a skinny little thing, and he has there's nothing there. Not even artificial breasts. There's nothing there. Why is he modeling your sport? I don't understand. Do I need to explain what sports bras are there for? It's for support, so you don't hurt your back when you're exercising. Do I need to what is that? We are living in the upside down, people. It is the upside down here. It's 9:50 also. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We'll let you hear what's going on down at the state capitol in Nashville. You got thousands of protesters. The House of Representatives in session to possibly expel 3 Democrat state reps because they won't follow the rules of decorum. And we'll tell you what's going on about 90 miles northeast of Nashville. There's an armed and dangerous suspect on the run after a murder. That's coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Ken Weaver. It is 9:57. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you on board today. Now, I am reading some information coming from a reporter at Channel 2 who is there on the House. And right now they are discussing, the House members are discussing a school safety bill. Representative Jones was allowed to talk. Remember, there's still members of the House at this point, so they can join in on this debate if they are so called to. And part of that discourse happened with Representative Jones, who apparently did take some issue with William Lamberth's bill on school safety, saying that when Lamberth said that the legislature will do everything it can to make schools safer, Jones pointed out that his bill makes no mention of guns. And then he attempted to read a passage from the Bible, but Sexton interrupted him and saying, you need to keep with the bill, discuss this bill. Jones then responded by saying thousands are gathered today for gun reform, but this bill is a white flag of surrender, not a solution. And then asks the sponsor, would you be willing to add some provision about banning assault weapons? White then said that he had been there for 14 years, but Jones has only been there for 3 months, says he used to be a principal. Jones assumes that this is a bad bill because it isn't exactly what he wants. And see, that's the thing. Instead of actually having conversations, and he can continue to say, we've been here since January and no one wants to talk about banning assault weapons. That is a legitimate thing to say and a legitimate argument. You're right. They don't want to talk about banning, quote, assault weapons. Of course not. And most Tennesseans don't. He says he's representing his people. I think he's representing himself. But at least that is civil decorum on the House floor. All right, more to come. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and the rain continues. It's a train of rain parked right over Middle Tennessee, and as a result, we've got a flash flood watch until about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly now in session.
As Speaker of the Tennessee House, Cameron Sexton, kicking off today's session, which could include the possible expulsion of 3 Democrat state reps for repeatedly ignoring House rules of decorum to disrupt sessions Thursday and Monday. Now, outside the chamber this morning, scores of protesters booing and jeering as lawmakers made their way inside. And we're told by a credible source, House Majority Leader William Lamberth of Portland was punched in the gut by one of those protesters. Right now in Kentucky, about 90 miles northeast of Nashville, state police say they're looking for whom they say is armed and dangerous after a murder from Russell County. They say 18-year-old Lee Maynard's accused of shooting and killing his 22-year-old brother. Elsewhere in Kentucky, Jordan Collins was at a playground in Louisville yesterday with a 4-year-old daughter when a tornado barreled through.
I'm counting my blessings for everybody that was here, everybody that made it out, and everybody that's alive. I'm just thankful.
The mayor says at least one person was killed there in Louisville. A new COVID-19 subvariant that World Health Organization officials say spreading quickly in other parts of the world.
We've made great progress battling COVID. We don't want to scare people, but the World Health Organization is still carefully monitoring these variants, and there is a new one that's on their radar. It's Omicron subvariant XBB.1.16. Right now, it's spreading largely in India. The most recent data there showed cases tripled in 2 weeks to more than 18,000. This has a similar profile to the current dominant strain here in the U.S., which is XBB.1.5.
Trevor Alt says it's spreading primarily in India right now and appears to be more transmissible, but there's no evidence it's any more dangerous. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Well, good morning. It is 10:05. I did it right this time. For those of you listening last hour, I kind of goofed on that, believe it or not. Anyway, good morning. Glad to have you. It's Thursday. I've heard some people refer to it as Friday Eve. And this weekend, of course, is a holiday weekend. If you have forgotten, it is Easter Sunday. So tomorrow will be Good Friday and then Easter Sunday. Don't know if you have plans. I hope you go to church on Sunday. We sure could use some church these last couple of days. Isn't that the truth? Can I get an amen? Mac, that's where you're supposed to go. Amen.
Amen.
Very good. All right. So we are keeping our eyes on the protests that are happening downtown at the state capitol. Now, I'm looking at some live shots from the crowd down there, and it's not nearly what it was last Monday. Now, of course, it progressed throughout the hours on Monday to get larger and larger and larger and larger, right? And so right now, there just seems to be people on the steps, the Capitol steps. Then there's this huge gap, and then there are more that are down closer to the plaza that have erected these, temporary tent kind of things so that they can stay out of the rain. But it is not nearly what it was, and it looks like some people are leaving. Are you seeing that? It looks like people are going maybe back to the car, maybe grabbing some coffee, but they're not standing out in the rain like this reporter is. And I think some folks are getting bored. I think some folks, and this was brilliant planning, whether it was intentional or not, but brilliant planning on behalf of the House, because you're screaming, no, save the three, don't expel, whatever they're chanting. Well, if they've been an hour and no vote's been taken, I think you get a little exhausted, right? You're protesting things that aren't happening right now. So I think they're kind of petering off, if that's the word I can use here, and they're just kind of going their way. It probably won't be 11 or 12 until a vote is actually taken against Gloria Johnson, against Justin Jones, and against Justin Pearson. I find it interesting, regardless as to what happens, these men and 2 women are unapologetic for what actually happened. Is my computer? This will be my cue to, is my computer on? Okay, good deal. Anybody watching on Super Talk TV just saw me with my thumbs up. Just behind the scenes, so you Super TV people can see, we have signals here in the radio world, right? Just like in baseball. So for me, this, which I'm like, the signal of slashing my throat means cut it, right? And then the thumbs up means is my audio up. I do the gun salute. That
Yes.
means bam.
Means
I got,
heck yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so those are mine. All right. So you've got 3 people who are unapologetic about what happened on Monday, about getting a bullhorn and taking over the proceedings there on the House floor. Let's see. How do I get this computer to work? Here we go. On the House
I
floor.
refuse to apologize. I want to be heard. I want to defend myself. I want to tell the people of this state what happened and why.
We know what happened, and we know why. I don't know what you can say to defend yourself today, Gloria Johnson. But again, let me repeat, she is being 100% unapologetic.
I refuse to apologize.
Blech.
I want to be heard. I want to defend myself. I want to tell the people of this state what happened and why.
She, of course, was talking to Channel 5's Phil Williams, who spoke to her about the actions that happened on Monday. I can tell you this. This has been the craziest legislative session that I have ever seen, and I have lived here since 1990. I have never seen a session like this before, and I am 100% including the Great Tax Revolt in that. And by the way, you understand that I know that there was one historic tax revolt where there were thousands of people that showed up at the state capitol, but there were, 50 tax protests maybe? Year after year after year, we'd have to come back and say, we don't want a state income tax. We don't want this here. There was just one that just seemed that everybody, grassroots people, got involved in that. This year, and it started in middle January. I think it ends in 2 weeks, this legislative session. I've never seen anything like it. We had the head of the Senate that nobody's talking about anymore. The head of the Senate, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, in hot water for some salacious type, flirtatious type. Would that be a good way to say it? Just maybe perhaps some inappropriate type comments on scantily clad dudes on Instagram. Who would have ever thought that would be something that we would be discussing in this legislative session? So you had that. You had a vote of confidence with the lieutenant governor, and more or less it looks like he gets a pass this legislative session. And I think after this legislative session, he will probably go back to his district and maybe perhaps retire, and then that'll be that. He completely got rid of his Instagram account, so no one's going back and looking at past posts at this point. And he has said he didn't know, he didn't mean to offend anybody, he didn't realize this was a bad thing, all the things. But we had no idea, we go from that to now lawmakers disrupting proceedings on the House floor. We had no idea that we would have to be dealing with a mentally unstable individual plotting and planning to kill people at a private elementary school here in Nashville. We had no idea. We had no idea that we would have to make changes to prevent something like this from happening again. This was not on our radar, I guess is what I'm trying to say. None of it was on our radar. What a crazy legislative session. And I understand Tennessee young people frustrated with the idea that they go to school and they're not safe. But our lawmakers didn't do this. The shooter did this. The guns didn't do this. The shooter did this. We've talked about that. Who knew that young people and parents showing up at the state capitol to demand lawmakers do something would turn into a circus from outsiders, from people outside of the state? Who knew that would happen? And who knew that 3 of our own lawmakers would glom onto that and be opportunistic into taking up that cause, not the cause truly of being heard. Their cause is to disrupt. I honestly believe Gloria Johnson, who I have disagreed with vehemently, whatever that word is, passionately, disagreed with her on issues. Passionately argued with her on socials. Sometimes she'll engage, sometimes she won't with me. She hasn't blocked me like Justin Jones has. But I believe she got caught up in the 2 Justins. She's been in the legislature for years now. She knows better than all of this. I think she's gotten a little addicted to the attention that she has learned that she could get by being obstinate like this and loud. I think she's gotten addicted to the attention she gets when she's standing up for the trans crowd. Standing up for the trans crowd who, by the way, aren't having their rights removed. They are calling it, a revolution. They are calling it discrimination, yet none of that's happening here. So they're delusional, and Gloria Johnson knows that, but she has gotten addicted to the attention she'll get if she stands behind them, right? And by the way, the trans issues in our state are not the same as the gay issues. And yet they all get lumped into this LGBTQ area, and it's different. When you're talking about mutilating a child's body to change their gender, what does that have to do with being gay? Not a darn thing. When you're talking about sexually explicit shows being performed in public where children are in attendance, what does that have to be? What does that have to do with being gay? Not a darn thing. But yet they're all lumped in together, so all of them are standing up for one another when the issues are so different. You know? I just received this text on the super text line, by the way, 615-737-9986, that said there's a majority of gays who don't want anything to do with that community. That may be true. I don't know. I know that I have some very dear gay friends that believe this right now, what's happening is a complete circus. There's a word that they use. It's an S word, and they call it the S word show that's going on right now. And they don't want to be a part of it. But those are just my friends. I mean, I don't know. I can't, they don't speak on behalf of the entire community. Someone just also texted the two Justins and Johnson are a perfect example of the participation trophy generation. I think you're right. It was almost like a temper tantrum. I want to be heard. I want to be heard. You're out of order, sir, but I want to be heard. And then he quotes, a scripture about Jesus overturning the tables in the temple, and which has nothing to do with this. Not at all. Not one bit. You're out of order, sir. You're out of order. So what does he do? He takes a bullhorn. I want to be heard. It's a temper tantrum. You would have been heard if you would have done it in the right way. But at any rate, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I guess I am repeating myself. Never thought we would be here on this day doing these things this way. Sounds like the opening line of a song. It is 10:19. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, the rain continues under this flash flood watch until 1 o'clock. The Tennessee Capitol is full of protesters. House of Representatives is in session right now, debating a bill expanding school security. But it's not the type of security the protesters want. We'll tell you about it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, and in fact, it looks like we have a vote that has just happened, and it passed with, 95-4, the 4 votes against a school safety bill. Now, understand, this is a school safety bill. Who voted against it? Justin Jones, Justin Pearson. You had Gloria Johnson and also Representative Tory Harris. I need to look up. Do me a favor.
So then there are some Democrats who voted for it.
Yes. A lot of Democrats who voted for it, because I think you have, 20-something Democrats that are in the House.
Yeah, so I want to say 23.
Yeah, so quite a few voted for it. I don't know if anybody voted or abstained from the vote. It doesn't look like it, because you've got, 95 plus 4 is 99. So there's your 99 counties right there that are represented, or your 99 districts that are represented, I do believe, right? I think I'm right on that. So anyway, so that's interesting. Now you have gun reform activists chanting and calling the names of the 3 lawmakers heroes. But see, again, and
26 Democrats, by the way. 26
Democrats. So now you have 4 that voted no, and the rest voted for this school safety. And all it was a bill that said it was introduced by Representative Mark White, and I believe he's out of Memphis. Good man, I know him. I believe he's out of Memphis. And he introduced legislation that each school in the state of Tennessee, including private schools, should have a safety plan. Can you tell me?
Oh, we can't have that.
Can you tell me what's wrong with that? Have a plan to be more safe at your school. Now, I guess that can include lots of things, but have a plan. And of course, Democrats voted for that. The only reason why the Tennessee 3, I'm not supposed to call them, the two Justins and a Johnson have voted against it. And the only reason why they did it is to be defiant. No other reason. No other reason. Other bills that will come up before the House and the Senate, by the way, you can address whether SROs should be armed or not in your schools. You can address whether the schools now should have fortified bulletproof glass. I was reading some comments from lawmakers saying, do we really want our schools to look like prisons? Well, first of all, your kids aren't going to be behind bars. That's number one. Your kids can leave when you pick them up. They're free to go. I don't believe any of the SROs, if are armed themselves, are going to allow kids to get a hold of their gun. I'm sure there will be lots of training on how not to allow your weapon to be commandeered by somebody who wants to hurt you.
Yeah, I actually just heard them on the General Assembly. I was listening to Justin Pearson, and he was talking about the school-to-prison pipeline. That was one of his exact reasons for voting against this. And William Lamberth came back and said, well, we're actually trying to build a fortress, not a prison. Prison's built to keep people in. This fortress is built to keep people out.
Good line. Good line. Love that. And that's the truth. If I'm not mistaken, in Israel, they have people arming their schools. Have you heard of any children from Israel having any kind of psychological damage because their schools are fortified with someone armed at the gate, so to speak? And look, if you had someone armed at the front of the school, at the side of the... If the shooter that day thought the school was fortified, she wouldn't have tried what she did. She wouldn't have been able to accomplish what she did. How many bullets? How many shots? More than 150 shots fired that day from her. If someone, and there are rumors that there were 2 teachers possibly armed that day. Why didn't they take her out? Well, do we know that they were on the school grounds that day? I don't. And I don't want to go into the rumor mill kind of thing. I don't know. Also, I think if it were a custodian or a teacher or what have you, their first priority is to protect and defend, not go hunting for the shooter to take the shooter out. So I don't know if they were there. I don't know. But regardless, we do know just from the police themselves, they have said this shooter was looking at other places. She didn't go that route because they had too much security. I want to repeat that. She did not go to these other places because they had too much security. She wanted to die that day. She knew she was going to die that day. And obviously, she wanted as much carnage as possible. I don't know why she didn't go to the playground that was off to the side where she had driven up and parked. I don't know, but thank God for that. Maybe she had tunnel vision of getting into the school and shooting as much as she can inside that building. I don't know. How can you explain the mind of the deranged? It's difficult for us to understand any of it, although we do try. There's nothing wrong with voting in favor of making sure all of our schools in the state of Tennessee have a safety plan. So, Nashville, your representative, or at least that particular Nashville district that Justin Jones represents, voted against a school safety plan and that being required. Please note, he voted no. It's 10:30. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and the rain continues to fall, which could be problematic in some drenched areas. We've got a flood watch in effect until 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it has been raining for some time. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, the House of Representatives has just passed a bill that hardens school safety, including locked doors and drills. But it falls short of what protesters want in light of the Covenant school shooting. Protesters outside of the chamber want a ban on assault weapons.
Our future is within this generation, and we deserve to live long enough to create change, the change that we want, the change that we deserve.
That's a 16-year-old student from Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet School here in Nashville. The other reason protesters are there is to show support for 3 Democrat state reps facing expulsion for repeatedly ignoring rules of decorum. And right now in Kentucky, state troopers looking for 18-year-old Lee Maynard, whom they say is armed and dangerous after the murder of his 22-year-old brother in Russell County, about 90 miles northeast of Nashville. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down, then way up. Now let's say if we isolate parts of that curve right there, and the first curve right there, and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 10:35. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for being with me today. It is a gloomy, nasty, rainy day. And I think that has some of the downtown protesters heading back to the house. If it were me, I'd go, man, screw this. Get me in where it's dry. Get me in where it's warm. I'll never forget. I'm going to share this and then we will move on. There are other things to discuss today. Like, for instance, we have a president, or at least a former president, that's been indicted. I'll get you the latest on that. We also have, so there is a blogger that I want to talk about because something has happened to this blogger. There was violence that occurred at his house. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So that's coming up as well. But I want to tell you, so I've been in this biz, as they say, for a long time. And I was a witness to the day that Barack Obama announced he was running for president. Now, like it or not, it was an historic day because we all had a feeling, ooh, this man has a real chance. I know that, what is his name? Preacher, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson ran several times for president, didn't get anywhere close. But this time we knew, ooh, this man stands a chance. And it was my job to cover the story. So I was there when, oh gosh, it had to have been 50, 60, 70,000 people at the little teeny state capital of Chicago, of Illinois. Most people think Chicago is the capital of Illinois. It is not. Little Springfield, Illinois, is the capital of Illinois. And Barack Obama was the U.S. Senator from that state. And he announced he was running. It was a historic day, thousands of people there. He was announcing on the state capitol steps where Abraham Lincoln stood. So all of the symbolism, all of the things. Do you know, people came out, not in the rain, but in the bitter cold. It was 10 degrees outside. I have never frozen so badly in my whole life. I couldn't feel my nose, and I could not feel my toes. And I kept thinking, I get paid what to do this? How much is it? How much money do I get paid? I need to go inside where it's warm. I even had double socks on.
Wow.
We had a heater blowing, one of those gas-fired heaters that blow at sports events, you know what I'm talking about, on the side that are real loud. We had one of those blowing our way. Oh, no. No. Didn't help one bit. It was freezing cold. And yet you had all of these supporters there. Now, had it rained, I think it would have been a different story. There's
rain
really
and cold,
yeah. Then it would have been different. Because, at that point, if it was raining, it would have been ice.
Yeah.
Really at that point, because it's 10 degrees outside. And I'm not joking. It was 10 degrees outside. At any rate, I think the protesters are saying, screw this, I'm going home. We don't expel them. But I'm going home before I catch a cold or pneumonia. All right. Meanwhile, there is a guy. By the way, we've got John Rich coming up at 11:05. Be listening for that. We're going to talk beer. We're going to talk drag queens and any other issue we might talk about. Love John Rich. He's a friend, of course, to this radio station. He's a friend of this community, too. At any rate, there is a blogger. I'm not going to give you his name. If you want to find his actual name, you can find it yourself. Because I don't want to be accused of putting he and his family in danger. See how that works, Tennessee Holler? He blogs for the Tennessee Holler. And apparently, he says on Saturday night, someone targeted his home by shooting several bullets into his house while his family was sleeping. And he says, violence has no place in a civilized society, and we are thankful no one was physically hurt. Agreed. I agree with you. He goes on to say the authorities have not completed their investigation, and right now we do not know for sure the reason for this attack. We urge the Williamson County Sheriff's Office to continue to investigate this crime and help shed light on Saturday's unfortunate events and bring the perpetrators of this crime to justice. In the meantime, our family remains focused on keeping our children healthy and safe. We don't plan on making any additional statements at this time and hope everyone will respect our privacy. That's the part that kills me coming from the Tennessee Holler. This guy is, yes, and I confirmed that indeed in Williamson County they are investigating a shooting that happened on this man's property. But what kills me is I hope everyone will respect our privacy. This is a man who harasses lawmakers in the Capitol Hill corridors. Now, he doesn't have press credentials. He'll call himself a member of the press. He is not. In fact, I think he brings a bad name to members of the press. He's a blogger. He's a social media instigator, agitator. And when he asks questions of lawmakers, he gets so close to their face and asks some of the most ridiculous questions that, in my opinion, constitutes harassment. When you get into people's personal space, I think you have violated that person's First Amendment rights or right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. You're blocking them from going about their day in a peaceful way. Now, if you want to stand within distance on a public street or at the state capitol within a certain amount of space, go right ahead. I don't think those lawmakers have any issue with that. But when you start to get in their personal space and you're in their face with your camera or your phone and then ask ridiculous questions, you've crossed a line. Now, I don't know what happened at his home. I will tell you, when I first heard this story, and I'm glad his children are safe, but I have to tell you, when I first heard this story, I'm just going to be honest with you. And I want to make sure that it's clear for the Tennessee Holler and anyone else listening to me today. I do not advocate anybody taking a weapon and shooting innocent people. I do not advocate for anybody to inflict any kind of violence on a person's home. Period. I want to make sure that's clear. But when I first heard this story, I was reminded. I wish I had that little dream sequence. You know what I mean? The bloop. We'll have to find that at some point, Mac. I remember a Rutherford County sheriff. Do you remember Sheriff Arnold? A few years back. Now, he ended up going to jail for a while for wrongdoing, and I'm not even talking about that. But Sheriff Arnold, I guess, made some statements about, I don't even remember, was it Beyonce and police and whatever? And one day out of nowhere, he says somebody drove by his house and shot up his house. Now, I just remember then, and if anybody wants to pipe in, you can, if you were around. But I remember then thinking, okay, this is awfully suspicious. And I don't remember if they found out who did that, but it just seemed awfully suspicious to have that happen during a time when Arnold said really, bless his heart, some dumb things. And he did. And I know that he's a social media friend of mine, and no offense. And if you were sitting right here, Mr. Arnold, I would say you said some dumb things. Bless your heart. I would say it in all compassion. You stuck your foot in your mouth. When I heard that the Tennessee Holler's home was targeted, I have to be honest with you. I thought, this seems awfully suspicious. After what happened at Covenant School, after the Tennessee Holler 100% supporting the two Justins and a Johnson, after all of that, this seems pretty suspicious. You know, and unless some dumb individual who supports gun rights decided to shoot up the house. But I know they're out there. I know some listen to us. It's dumb. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's against the law. Stop it. And you're not helping the cause. You know, unless some idiot decided that they wanted to terrorize this family, it just seems awfully suspicious to me. I'm just telling you what I think. I don't wish this on anybody. I don't know how many children he has, but thank God they're safe, and his wife and him. And yes, Williamson County Sheriff's Department, they are investigating, and I'm sure that they will get to the bottom of whoever did this. Good sheriff's deputies with Williamson County. Know a lot of them. They're great. They're awesome. But I don't know. Is that wrong of me? So there you go. I had to make that statement because I have to be honest with you. I think bloggers like him are dangerous. You've got a generation of people who like to stir it up. Now that we've been accused here at WTN of trying to stir things up, we've never, ever tried to stir people to the point of violence. Ever. Never, ever have we said, take up arms and start shooting. Or get your baseball bat or whatever. Never. So there's that. I don't know that he has said that. Boy, he sure stirred. I mean, it just... And I'm against even good investigative journalists. I'm against people getting in your personal space. And I'm against people running down the street trying to get you to go on the record for something, chasing you. That's harassment. So I feel that way even with what if it was his name? PJ O'Rourke. And Project Veritas. He used to do that. And I'm going, come on, man, stop doing that. It's ridiculous. Don't chase him. It's 10:50. We will go ahead and take a break. We'll find out again. We'll get an update on what is going on in the State House. They're taking up some other bills. The last I saw, they were now discussing a mental health bill in the House. So I don't know where that lands. I don't know what the discussion has been, but they are blocking more protesters from getting into the gallery. More to come. I'm Pamela Furr on WTN.
House of Representatives in Tennessee debating the mental health treatment part of expanded school safety legislation. That's not enough for the protesters outside of the chamber. We'll let you hear what's going on at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is it real loud, Ken?
Actually, it is not as loud as it was.
Ah, interesting.
It does seem that the crowd has thinned.
Well, I think it's definitely thinned, and there are. In fact, I've got a letter here. Let me pull it up here from. This one is Justin Pearson, and he actually wrote all of his supporters on House of Representative letterhead and said, "Hey, thank you for being here and fighting this just cause." I'm paraphrasing right at this moment, but he said, "Please be quiet and follow decorum rules." He said, because Speaker Sexton can remove everyone at will, and he has done it in the last 2 sessions. So he's telling his supporters, don't get crazy, which is actually the right thing to do. Now he's doing the right thing when he's about to be expelled. So that's probably maybe a part of it. It's also probably because they keep going through all these other bills. And by the way, point of clarification. Earlier I said that you had the 2 Justins and a Johnson, plus I believe Representative Harris, who voted no on the school safety bill. I need to correct that. They voted present, no vote. Present, no vote. Which to me is a no vote. You're voting, I'm here, but you didn't vote yay or nay. That to me is a nay vote because you didn't do anything for the cause, for the bill, but they are on the record as at least being there, but they did not actually vote yay or nay. Same goes with the House Bill 1016, which redefines what a threat to a school is. I don't have all of those details. I'm trying to look it up here, and I will get that to you possibly in the next hour or so. We've got John Rich, though, coming up at 11:05, so be listening for that. But 95 Republicans passed it after debate, and 3 present, no vote, which is the 2 Justins and a Johnson on that one. All right, so let's move on. I am Pamela Furr. It looks like we have, wait a minute, hold on one second. We have some crazy weather going on. No, that was yesterday. Some old tweets are popping up for some reason.
I was going, wait, what? What?
Sorry. You know how to do that? It'll pop up and you look and, oh, that was 24 hours ago. Good grief. I was about to have a heart attack because it was a tornado warning. I'm going, whoa, where did this come from?
Time to get the lawn chair out and watch.
I know. Spoken like a true man from Oklahoma. All right, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. The rain still falling and much of Middle Tennessee still under that flash flood watch until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, the House of Representatives debating the mental health treatment part of expanded school safety legislation in light of the Covenant school shooting. Meanwhile, outside of the chamber, scores of protesters, including teachers, want nothing short of a ban on guns. They're also there to support 3 Democrat state reps facing possible expulsion for repeatedly ignoring rules of decorum to call for stricter gun control. It's been a deadly 36 hours of tornadoes in several states this week. Here's Rob Marciano.
The mayor of Louisville, Kentucky says at least 1 person died after a tornado struck there. Deadly and destructive twisters obliterating homes and structures in southeastern Missouri. An EF2 tornado with winds of 130 miles per hour, decimating parts of Bollinger County. The pre-dawn tornado responsible for killing at least 5 people and injuring many others. Governor Mike Parson on the scene, seeing the destruction firsthand.
When you look at the devastation of this, it's going to be weeks upon months to be able to recover.
Another U.S. congressional delegation touching down in Taiwan. China's ruling Communist Party not happy about it. Less than a day after the U.S. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, met with the Taiwan president on U.S. soil in California.
The delegation, led by House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall, will be discussing U.S.-Taiwan relations as well as regional security and trade. The group announced it will meet with Taiwanese officials and business leaders to discuss how to deepen their defense relationship and deal with the threat of China. It's a sensitive time in Taiwan. Following the Tsai-McCarthy meeting, Beijing has vowed a resolute response and sent warships into the waters around the island.
Britt Clennett reporting. And the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:05. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for being with us today as we await what happens to the two Johnsons. No, that's wrong. The two Justins and a Johnson today at the State House. We do have protesters down there, although they are not en masse like they were on Monday. And I think the rain has kept a lot of them away. I think the true Tennesseans are like, screw this, I'm going to go get some, hot chicken.
Well, they're at work, making a living.
Oh, wait, a job? Are you saying Tennesseans have jobs? Yeah, I agree with you, Ken Weaver. I agree 100%. And so what you see are people who have taken time off from school, maybe, and people bust in from out of the state. Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, told us that this morning, that 2/3 of the people they screened, the troopers screened on Monday at that little rowdy kind of thing, they were from out of state. So they don't have a dog in this hunt. And caused all that commotion. Makes me so mad. All right, let's talk now, though, to John Rich, who's on the line with us today. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I don't know if you're watching what's happening at the state capitol, but I think the three that have caused the most trouble should get expelled.
That's quite a scene, isn't it? I mean, I think I think protesting and using your voice is one thing. When you start putting people potentially in harm's way, it goes to a new level.
Yeah.
And I think kind of with the climate we're all living in, everybody's on a heightened alert right now. I would think they would understand that, but if their cause is something that makes them want to go to that level and that extreme, they have the right to do that. But there's also, like anything else, freedom of speech also has repercussions.
Yeah, it really does.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it really is. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today is because you have skin in the game when it comes to bars down on Broadway. And one of the things that has come up is this face of a transgender that's now plastered on, Bud Light beer cans. And you've got bars down on Broadway who have country stars who have I guess they've licensed their names to those bars. You, however, own your bar down there. And so the question has been raised, are you still going to carry Bud Light in your bar?
Here's the thing about commerce. The customers decide. The customers decide. So at Redneck Riviera, we've already had a lot of customers in the past several days come in and say, what do you have other than Bud Light?
Nice.
Or they see the Bud Light tap and they go, when are you taking the tap down? So we're watching it closely. There's a lot of people that don't want to drink it. I have a feeling at this point, if we ran out of beer and only had Bud Light, you probably wouldn't have that many people drinking beer. I mean, that's the attitude of the people coming in down there. So it's a real thing. At the end of the day, it's marketing. People sit around in big boardrooms. They get paid a lot of money to come up with ways to market products, and that's totally their right. They can market it any which way they want to. And then the customers ultimately decide who's the winners and who are the losers. I can tell you that with Redneck Riviera, I've got a whiskey brand all over the U.S., 10,000 stores plus at this point. And my marketing is real simple: God, family, country, affordability, made in America. Real simple. That's real my marketing.
Yeah, and not just the whiskey that's inside it. I remember you telling me at one point, even the bottle itself is made in America. The glass.
Yeah, even my glass, my corks, my labels, it's 100% made in the USA. So, I'm the brand owner of Redneck Riviera, and so I always tell people this is a really simple brand. We believe in God, family, country, hard work. We know that people have limited income. We want to make something affordable, but that's high quality. And, if you're looking for a switch, if the brands that you've always loved are disappointing you on some level, make a switch. Vote, vote with your dollars. Make impact with your dollars. Put them somewhere else if you want to. I think Redneck Riviera is, we're seeing an uptick in it right now, that people are searching it out and wanting to try something new.
There you go. Now, maybe you now need to go into beer business. Now, don't you have something? Wait a minute. Don't you have what is it? Is honeydew? Don't you have something that's
Howdy Do?
Howdy-do,
yeah. Yeah, Howdy Do. So it's not beer.
What is that?
It's like a 8%. It's like think about a Twisted Tea or a Mike's Harder Lemonade. It's that kind of a drink. Yeah.
Now that sounds like something I would enjoy.
Yeah, you would love one or two. Your radio show would get very interesting after the second one, no doubt about it.
I believe that 100%. All right, so you're going to let the market decide on the beer at Redneck Riviera.
Well, if people stop buying it or they stop coming in because we've got it there, it's going to go away.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, you let the people decide. My bar, we're all about police, firemen, first responders, military vets, active duty. If you ever walk into Redneck Riviera, the first thing you see is just literally every wall wallpapered with police patches, military patches, fire patches from all over the United States. That's who comes in there. If they don't want Bud Light and they don't want it enough, then we won't be selling it. That's not good for business. And I think at the end of the day, that's how this thing gets sussed out.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, so here's my next question while I have you on the line. When did drag queens and country music start going together? That, it seems like a very odd combination. In fact, I saw a picture from the CMT Awards, and I don't know if you want to get into this or not, but I saw a picture from the CMT Awards, and it was drag queens in front of the Step and Repeat banner, right? And I'm thinking, I don't believe, in fact, I said this, I don't believe Hank did it this way or done it this way, I think more specifically. Very bizarre to me. Not that drags can't love country music, but when you're talking about women in country who have been saying for years, there's not enough women in country, why are you going to give up your spot to a drag queen who's not a female? I don't know. It's all bizarre to me.
Well, it goes in the same line as the last thing we were just talking about Bud Light and these other brands. Country music is a marketing machine unto itself.
Yeah.
The record labels, the CMA, CMT, all the organizations, the institution of country music is really just a gigantic marketing machine for country music. So again, they sit around in big rooms and they spend a lot of money figuring out how they want to display country music on television, and that's what they decided to do. So they want to watch it again or not, and that goes all the way down to singular artists.
Yeah.
If an artist wants to make a really strong stand on a certain subject, whether it's drag queens or the Second Amendment, it doesn't matter what it is. If they want to make a strong statement about that, they have all the right in the world to do it. The fans will decide if they want to stick with them or not.
You know, I have some other friends in this business, and I have been told that there are many artists who actually do want to take a stand against wokeness and have been threatened by their label to keep it quiet because they'd get dropped in a heartbeat if they do. And these artists are afraid to say anything because the argument from a couple that I've heard is, I've got a family to feed, I've got a crew to pay, I've got all of these things, these obligations, and to get dropped from the label would be a difficult thing for me, so I just keep my mouth shut. Does that sound familiar to you?
Well, 100% true. Yeah. So yeah, you've got artists. It's a bad spot for country music because you have a lot of artists on both sides of these subjects, but only one side can be loud about their opinion and the other side has to sit down and shut up, or yes, they will get dropped, they will get blackballed, they will no longer be a part of the situation. That's a sad thing. Music is supposed to be the one spot where creative energy and artistry can be its own thing and actually be heard and pushed back. And I mean, great songwriters had a lot to do with shutting down the Vietnam War. Absolutely did. The pen is mightier than the sword. Right. That's a real thing. And so a lot of that's been shut down. But think about the position these artists are in. Their American dream was to move to Nashville, do whatever it took to get in the door, get on a record label, go out here and try to make a career, do what they love to do. They finally get all that to happen, only to find out that they're only allowed to say what's approved by their record label. I mean, that's a sad state for a lot of these artists.
It really is. And songwriters and musicians that are, in the backing band. I had one friend, a drummer, who ended up having to get out of the business because the band was requiring a vaccine and he didn't want to get the vaccine. And he had his valid reasons. So he couldn't get a job playing anywhere.
Yeah.
And this was his dream. That
happened all over town. The list of artists that fired their bus drivers, tour managers, bandmates, you name it. I mean, the list is longer than you would believe. It's unbelievable what happened. And guess what? None of those people, now that we've all learned about what the vaccine, it's not effective. It's not what it was told to us that it was. You thinking those people have been hired back?
Nope.
None of them.
Nope.
None of them have been hired back. It was a career-ending move for all of the people that refused to bend to that protocol. It's been a hell of a run
Yeah.
here in country music, and it continues.
It does. And I don't know, I haven't looked at the overall numbers, but certainly in viewership of award shows like the CMT Awards, we're way down. And I have to think that it has to go hand in hand with country music getting more, quote, woke. And that's not, I hate to see that happen to music that I love so much. But here's what's great about it, John. People like you and others, we can find your music. It may not be marketed in the normal way, but we can find you, and people can be successful in the biz if they handle things their own way. I love that too.
Yeah, you have to come at it at a different angle, but the audience is there. There are ways to get to them, and if you put out great music, they'll respond just like they always have.
Yeah.
But it is a new world out there, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. Like I said, songwriters and singers have always been kind of the backstop, and comedians, by the way, have always kind of been that final line that those people can still say what they want to say, and they're kind of untouchable because they're artists.
Right.
Make your art, do your thing. But man, they have really closed the mouths of a lot of people in this town that would sure like to be singing about something else, or
Right.
doing this particular interview, or going on that particular show, and they just won't do it because if they do, it's the end of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that means you're stifling free speech. And I thought we were about free speech in this town. So it's sad. It's
Well,
sad.
It is what it is. Again, the fans will decide on country music. The customers will decide on Bud Light, whatever else comes up next week.
Yeah.
It all comes down to commerce at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. You're right. Well, thank you, John, for being with me. I just kind of wanted to get your statement on all of that. Take care of yourself. Take care of your babies. And we will talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Will do. Thank you.
All right. Bye. It is 11:18. That was John Rich, of course, the owner of the Redneck Riviera. If you ever get an opportunity to go, I encourage you to do so. It is a fun place to party. What is it?
Very
Play
fun.
hard, work hard, and love God. All of it, at Redneck Riviera. All right. More to come. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Action is underway at the state capitol in Nashville to expand school safety legislation in Tennessee. Manhunt for an armed and dangerous murder suspect just 90 miles outside of Nashville. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it is 11:22. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you on board. I'm getting a lot of positive text messages from folks saying, you know what? John Rich, what a business guy. It's all about business. And in the business, you know, the customer or the client is the one who wins. So if they demand more Bud Light, he'll serve more Bud Light. If the customer says, why are you serving Bud Light? He won't serve Bud Light. That's the bottom line. So I'm getting text messengers saying, what a leader there in John Rich. And this is what's so unfortunate about I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I got to stop doing that, I guess. I have friends that are in the business. I have friends who are woke. I have friends who believe strongly in what they believe, and I support that. I don't support being penalized when your belief is opposite. If my belief is opposite and you want me to be stifled, then that's a problem. That's why I don't have a problem with protesters. I don't. I don't necessarily believe what these protesters are saying. I don't believe that we're better off with no guns. Not in this society, not in 2023. If everyone was perfect, if we were in heaven, you don't have a need for guns. But you have a need for guns because there are evil people in the world. There are thieves and murderers and rapists and, let's go down the line of lawbreakers that are out there. You have to be able to defend yourself, your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. The Constitution allows you to do so. The Constitution allows you also, well, I don't want to get into all that, but, it also allows you if there is a militia needed, et cetera, et cetera. The Constitution allows for this, to defend yourself in your home and to be able to defend your homeland or be able to defend the innocent. The Constitution allows for that. And if you want me to be stifled for supporting that, that's wrong. I hear the so-called tolerant left being so intolerant. And so my friends that are on Music Row who are on the left, who are gay, who do support drag shows, support drag shows all you want. I've been to drag shows. They're fun. I haven't personally been to sexually explicit drag shows, but they're out there. And as an adult, go. If you enjoy that, go. It's a free country. I don't care. What you do has nothing to do with me. But when you're talking about children, it's a different story. That's all that has happened here. It bugs me to see certain artists who have decided to jump on the bandwagon of Tennessee's trying to ban drag shows. It's a lie. Tennessee's trying to ban drag. It's a lie. And so now you're using your platform based on a lie. And it bugs me.
We've got a super text that says, Pamela, woke is wrong. If I have any friends or family who go woke, I dump them. I have a brother and a sister who I've already dumped. Wow.
That's harsh, man.
I know.
That's harsh. You do you.
Yep.
I don't know that I could do that. If my sister were woke, I don't know that I would dump her. I'd still love her. We may not get into conversation about issues at Thanksgiving. I can tell you that.
Yes.
The Christmas, dinner table, We're not talking about issues.
Yeah, I've experienced with that for sure.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, it's so uncomfortable.
Yes.
And what is it they say? You don't talk politics and religion at the dinner table. Or
especially at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes. Stay away.
Because you'll get into knockdown, drag out heated discussions. My brother-in-law and I get into heated discussions, but he's military intelligence. I'm guilty. I like to poke the bear sometimes, and say things that I know will get him riled up. And then I just sit back and laugh.
You're a pot stirrer.
But that's just because I like to pick on my brother-in-law. That's just my nature because he's married to my baby sister. And so what do you do as an older kid? You pick on your baby sister. Come on. So that's the only reason why I do it. But we never honestly get into it. Just gets them riled. It just gets them fired up, especially if I talk about, did you see the episode of Homeland where this, and this happened? Oh, my gosh, that was just so real. And he'll just go off on, that isn't real. That's just, he'll lose it. Or, anyway, it doesn't matter. I've just been now derailed. I can't remember what I was saying. The bottom line is, I don't know that I would go that far in dumping a loved one. I've been dumped by friends who want to talk about issues, but if I say something that I think is sensible, I get destroyed. I lost friends over the election of Donald Trump. Couldn't believe it. But that's them. That's not me. It's hurtful, but that's them, not me. I was dumped by a couple, a guy couple. They were gay. Still are gay. Because of where I stood on the issue of same-sex marriages. I believe the Supreme Court overreached. And if they wanted to get married in a state that allowed marriages, great. But if a state said our people do not want that here, I felt like the states had a right to have that say. The Supreme Court overruled that. Fine, now you can get married anywhere you want to. But because of my stand, they don't want to talk to me. I'm like, I didn't say I wouldn't go to your wedding. I'm just saying, that this is a states' rights issue. It's a Supreme Court issue here, if you're asking my opinion on that. And if you didn't want to know, don't ask me. And yeah, I got dumped for that. I've had friends who get swiped. What is it? You swipe left when you don't want them and swipe right when you want them. Am I right? Is that?
I think so. I've been out of the game for a minute.
For a while,
yeah.
I think that's what it is. So I've had people who say they have gotten swiped left because in their profile they'll put that they're Republican, or which I don't know why you would do that. But anyway, they put in their profile that they're Republican or Democrat, and they get swiped left,
I've heard of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do.
That's just too bad. That's
it. You close yourself
I was about to say,
off from some incredible relationships when you do that. But at the same time, could I sit here and say that I would get intimately involved with someone who was not like-minded? It would be really difficult, not going to lie. But you do you. If you needed to drop that loved one, then that's your prerogative, I guess. It's 11:30. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got a crash blocking the way north of Nashville. This one's in Montgomery County. It's 24 eastbound right after MLK Parkway. The rain continues. We're still under that flash flood watch until about 1 o'clock. And right now in Nashville, House lawmakers are debating legislation to expand to school safety measures in light of the Covenant school shooting. Nashville State Rep Justin Jones, one of the 3 lawmakers at risk of being expelled, said he won't support the bill as it stands right now.
Nowhere in this bill do I hear the word or do I see the word guns, AR-15s, assault weapons, the things that actually are traumatizing and terrorizing these young people.
Right now in Kentucky, an urgent manhunt about 90 miles northeast of Nashville. State police looking for 18-year-old Lee Maynard. They say he's armed and dangerous, accused of shooting and killing his 22-year-old brother in Russell County. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. We know that diversification is an important part of the investing process, but how do you reduce risk of a portfolio through diversification? Well, you use correlations. Now think of bathing suit sales and suntan oil sales. They tend to move together, right? Think of bathing suit sales versus winter coat sales. More dissimilar movement, and that's the idea. But why is diversification so important? Well, think about it this way. Everybody would like to have this happen with their investments. They just go straight up. But what we know is this is really what tends to happen. Markets may go way up and then down, or down of that curve right there. And the first curve right there and the second curve right there. If you're putting money away for retirement, every time you put money in, if this is what's going on, you're buying more shares. Then just before you retire, the market goes up, you're really happy. If, on the other hand, you keep paying a higher and higher price and then the market goes down, you're really sad. And we can't choose what's going to happen with the market next. But what we can do is what we know through academic research, and there are Nobel Prizes awarded for this, is we can look for things that tend to move in dissimilar fashion. And what happens when we do that, we can reduce the volatility of the portfolio, hence bringing those curves in. Now that's the idea. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:36. Pamela Furr here. We are waiting for the State House to take up a vote to expel 3 lawmakers who took over the House floor this past Monday in protest, they say, over what happened to Covenant School. And lawmakers, they say, aren't doing enough to stop gun violence in our schools and mass shootings in our schools. They took over with a bullhorn. I don't have to repeat that. They're now facing expulsion. It looks like that vote may not happen until after lunch today. I'm just guessing. Things are moving slowly. They're taking care of other matters. And then I believe probably last on the agenda would be taking up the matter to vote for expulsion. I don't know. It looks like to me from what I've heard they do have the votes, but I don't know what kind of lobbying has been going on. I don't know what kind of wheeling and dealing behind the scenes has gone on. I do know that there are protests down at the state capitol. I would venture to say here at lunchtime, the crowd will grow once again. Once people take their lunch breaks, once people get off work, once, all of the things, or they may bust some more people from out of state. The rain may still keep some people away, but I think that rain is scheduled to stop here before too long. But that is what is happening down at the state capitol. They have not taken up the vote to expel. If they do that between now and noon, Mac, if you can keep an eye on that and let me know if that happens. I've got some people hitting my cell phone too to let me know if anything is happening. But right now, it's just kind of the normal, everyday House bill discussion and votes. Meanwhile, we talked to John Rich, country music star, songwriter, business owner John Rich at 11:05. But I don't know if you have also heard that another country music star is the latest celebrity to blast Anheuser-Busch for working with a transgender activist by the name of Dylan Mulvaney on a Bud Light promotion. And so I guess they're putting Dylan's face on the Bud Light cans. I haven't seen any of those, by the way, in circulation yet. And I don't even know if they're targeting just a certain area of the country. Is this just in California? I don't even know where Dylan Mulvaney lives. Can I just be honest with you? I had never even heard the name Dylan Mulvaney till this happened, and wouldn't have even known what it was on the beer can had someone not said that this was happening. Does that make sense? It was so not on my radar.
No, that makes sense. I don't think there was any reason that anyone would have known him. I knew him a couple weeks ago just from seeing him on a TikTok, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, gotcha. So because you're more of the TikTok viewer. Or people that you're around.
Yeah.
Are
for sure.
more the TikTok folk.
Yes.
I'm not a TikToker. I did download it at one point and signed up for it. I've now taken it off my phone, but only because it was just taking up space, because I just never went there. It has not become a habit for me. I am the Facebook, Twitter generation.
Yeah, totally.
And then
totally.
there's the next, maybe 10 years younger, maybe 5, but maybe 10 years younger. Then that's the TikTokers. And then I even think, what are the actual teenagers? Are they TikToking still?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, TikTok. Snapchat.
I didn't know if there was another one besides those two that the teens have picked up. Well, I mean, before too long, it'll just be AI and virtual lives. And
I know they like Be Real.
Be Real. What is this?
My little sister told me about that. Yeah, Be Real. It gives you a notification. It says it's time to be real. And then it's supposed to be whatever you're doing at that point. Like it would be me. If I was time to be real, I'd take a picture of me and it's like, it's selfie and in front of you. So it shows both sides of whatever you're doing at that moment. And then people can comment and say, oh, that looks so cool. Or, oh, it's just you sitting watching Netflix. Yeah, I've never done it, but.
That seems like a waste of time.
Yeah.
But hey, isn't it all kind of, you go down these rabbit holes? I go on and I just want to kind of see a few things. And then 2 hours later, I'm going, what has happened to my life?
The death scroll.
Yeah, it is the death scroll. Anyway, so country music star Travis Tritt has become the latest celebrity. His decision to remove all the products from his tour bus comes after fellow singer Kid Rock shot at several cases of Bud Light and put it on video, right, on socials. And that went viral. And I guess he posted videos to social media, Mulvaney that is, to coincide with the NCAA March Madness tournament. What does a transgender who knows nothing about basketball have to do with beer and March Madness, I ask you? What is the marketing? Unless The marketing was specifically to cause controversy. Because there are marketers that believe bad publicity is indeed good publicity. But is that going to translate to more beer sales? They may have gone the wrong way. Because okay. Am I right? And I guess I should have asked John Rich this because he's a bar owner. But when you think of Bud Light, do you think millionaire? I don't. I think when I think somebody who's maybe more affluent, I don't think Bud Light. I think, what is it, Modelo, those beers? You know what I mean? When you think Bud Light, do you think country music? Do you think country boy, pickup truck? I do.
Yes.
So, why on earth would you put a transgender on your beer can? If there's anybody that's not going to be too happy about that, it would be your country boy, country music loving, pickup truck driving, blue tick hound in the back guy. Right? I mean, am I stereotyping in a good way or bad way? I don't know. But Travis Tritt says there are many other artists who are doing the same about not having Bud Light on their tours, but they're just not being ridiculed about it because they're not being upfront about it, right? So they're too scared for being ridiculed or too scared to be ridiculed and canceled. Travis Tritt admitted that he had been on tour with Budweiser, one of the many brands under the Anheuser-Busch umbrella in the 90s. He also warned that was when Anheuser-Busch was American-owned, a great American company that later sold out to the Europeans and became unrecognizable to the American customer. It's such a shame. Good point. Tritt appears to be referring to the Belgian company InBev and American Anheuser-Busch agreeing to combine in 2008 with Budweiser as their flagship brand. He also took aim at RuPaul's Drag Race and Jack Daniels, posting a picture on his social media saying, all the Jack Daniels drinkers should take note. I want to point this out too. Mulvaney, again, who I'd never heard of before, has not had gender reassignment surgery yet. He is on hormones to help him transition into a woman, and by the way, has been documenting his change into girlhood. I have to tell you, as a female watching all of this, it's just, I feel like it's a mockery of womanhood. We have fought so hard to do the things that we've done in this country, to be who we are in this country. I don't know if you recall, but there was a time when women couldn't even write their own checks, couldn't own their own property in America. We're talking about America here. Couldn't vote. We've come a long way. There's still some salary, inequality, if you will, but we're working on it. So this dude wants to be a girl, and she is now getting all the attention, he. And here we as women get left in the dust yet again. You have men competing as women in professional sports or competing in tournaments in the sports arena, who are winning the gold, if you will, the major trophies, and leaving women in the dust, real women in the dust. And it's wrong. Fight me on that. As a woman, I'm saying to the transgender, fight me on that. We have a unique and distinct set of abilities and skills. Some women actually can rise above those normal set skills and be incredible warriors or athletes or whatever. Men are built differently and can compete differently. And it is not fair. I know, life's not fair. We're talking about competition here. Give me somebody who can compete with me equally, and we've had a good day. You give me somebody who pretends to be my equal, and then we have a problem. Transgenders are not my equal. Transgenders pretending to be female and competing against women is wrong. Vice versa. I would say the same thing if transgender, if women born, it's so confusing to me. If women who are born women wanted to be men and then compete in male sports, that would just be wrong. It's wrong. It's not equal. Give me the equal playing field. At any rate, now you've got Mulvaney, who she's only going to have 15 minutes of fame. And this might backfire on Bud Light. Now you've got her, by the way, Nike has decided, we'll let you model our sports bras. Y'all, I said this earlier. We'll end this segment with this. He is flat as a pancake. What does he need a sports bra for? That is the most ridiculous marketing plan Nike has ever done. It's not outside of the box. It is outside of ridiculous. It's on the other side of ridiculous in a word that I can't even come up with. It's so far on the other side of ridiculous. What is happening? I do not recognize my world anymore. It's gone crazy. Hashtag upside down. Hashtag bizarre world. Bizarro world. Hashtag we'll be back in a minute. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Johnny B and me.
That's right, Pamela Furr.
Hello, Johnny B.
Hello, how are you? Boy, I guess you have had nothing to talk about all morning.
It's been so boring.
And may I say good evening?
Yeah.
Just had to do that. Just had to have a little fun.
Come on,
If you missed it, I started the show with good evening. Didn't Dan one time start his show with happy birthday?
Yes, he did.
Instead of good
Yes,
morning.
he did.
Yeah,
So,
so
happy birthday.
I'm in good company.
My gosh.
It just came out that way.
Well, you turn these lights on, I don't know, it does something to the brain.
Yeah, it really does. I don't like the bright lights.
I don't either.
And normally I turn them down, but I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it today. And it's such a cloudy day today and rainy. And so it just felt like an evening. Yeah. Anyway.
So what's going on with what's the latest on? Because I've been doing all kinds of stuff today.
So the latest is they have not taken up a vote.
Imagine that.
On the House floor to expel the 2 Justins and a Johnson. See, good. You got it. Thank you. I was waiting for the laugh. So they haven't done that yet. The protesters have kind of gotten a little tired. You have, they are at capacity on the House floor in the gallery up top.
Right.
And so they're not letting anybody else up there. The ones that are inside the State House have gotten a little quieter. I think they're getting tired, which was a brilliant move on the Speaker's part to maybe make this vote later.
Right.
Wear them out. A lot of people from outside have gone home or at least taken a break. I am seeing that some are starting to trickle back in. It's probably lunchtime, so now they can come back and see what's happening down at the Capitol. But that's where we
Soros
are
told
now.
them. Soros told them. He said, "Look, I paid you guys good money. Get back down there.
Get back
You get a 30-minute
there.
lunch break. That's it. Go back and cause some."
I wonder what they're paying.
I know. I may have to go for it.
What? I mean, little side hustle. We can
Joking.
pretend to be a Soros supporter. Yeah, we are joking.
I kind of look liberal. People always guess me to be liberal,
Because
so I could hang out down
because
there.
you look. What makes you look liberal?
I have no idea, but that's what Pat Buchanan said one time.
Well, Johnny B up next at noon after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.